Hey guys, and welcome back. Well, I'm out here in the decoy shed again today. Thought I'd bring you a little something different for this week. We're going to talk about duck calls. In particular, we're going to talk about mallard calls. We're going to break them down. We're going to show you the different parts of a duck call. I'm going to show you some different styles of the mallard call. Now, a mallard call, like any other wind instrument, such as like a saxophone or even a clarinet, you force air from your diaphragm and into the call or to the instrument, and you have reeds in that instrument or the call, and once that wind passes over the reeds, it makes a sound. Now, how you utilize your air, especially with a duck call, we'll get into that a little bit later, but I just kind of want to give you a little overview on different styles of duck calls and actually the anatomy of your basic duck call. Now, I have with me today 5 duck calls that are out of my collection. Out of some of these duck calls I use all the time, some I just have them put up. But we're going to start with them one by one. The Arkansas duck call. The Arkansas style of duck call is what you generally see now as the modern duck call. It has a barrel, it has a insert with an attached tone board, it's got a reed, and it's got a cork as its wedge. And those are your parts of that duck call, but they generally look like this, and majority of the duck calls that you see today, your modern calls, most of your custom call makers and even the other calls that are mass produced are based off this. One is the this happens to be a Jensen. It is patented. I call it a Texas call. It looks like a cigar. It's shaped like a cigar. It has an insert, a barrel. It has an insertable tone board and an insertable wedge. And generally speaking, they are double reed. I think there's some of the older ones that you might come across, maybe single reed, and I think they even have a triple reed out. But these are what we call a cigar style call or a Texas style call. The next one is the Real Foot style call based off of Real Foot Lake and Real Foot, Tennessee. This is usually a longer call. It again has a barrel, a insert. Usually the tone board is attached to the insert. It's all one piece. Generally speaking, the Real Foot Lake style calls have a wooden wedge. Usually have a brass reed. This call is a what we call a cut down call. Now, the cut down call is shaped similar to the Arkansas style call. However, the insert where you normally would put the insert on the Arkansas has been bored out just a tad bit, and the insert has been put in the other end. Basically, you're flipping the call around and you're shaving down the tone board a little bit. Again, they are the tone board is usually attached to the insert, has a reed and a cork for a wedge. These are were made very famous way back. P.S. Olt is generally the one who's accredited for making the cut down calls. Basically, they just took an old Arkansas style call, flipped it around, put the insert on the other end. It gives it a little bit more deeper, a little more raspier. And next is the Louisiana style call, or the Louisiana cane call, or just a cane call. Generally speaking, these calls are smaller. They're made out of cane or other materials. They're shorter. They have an insert with a detachable tone board. You can pull it in and out. Usually has a a wedge. Some are, I've seen them both ways. I've seen them where they've had a wooden wedge or a cane wedge, and I've also seen them with a piece of cork as the wedge. Now, if you took the guts out of the call and you changed either the tone board or even the reeds just a little, you can change up this call dramatically. For instance, this style Arkansas duck call, if you'll notice here that the reeds are shorter than the other call, which I have here. I'll compare them. You'll see that they're a little bit shorter and the tone boards are a little bit longer. And that can alter the sound, the pitch of the call. So if you have a longer reed, longer tone board, your call will have, it takes a little more air to break that reed over and to call. The longer the reed, the more air has to be forced over it. That reed will vibrate a little bit slower, which would give you a lower pitched call. Therefore, if your tone board and reed are shorter, you are going to get a more higher pitched call. For example, a little bit longer reed, a little bit shorter of a reed. As you can see, it's just a little bit higher pitch. It's not much, but there is a higher pitch to that call, to this shorter call, than there is to the thickness of a reed can also make the call sound either higher or even lower, and can change the sound. Generally speaking, a thicker reed is going to give you a more raspy sound, where a thinner reed is going to give you a more higher pitch. A standard plastic reed is approximately 0.010 in length, whereas stouter reeds are going to be 0.014. Now, I've shown you a few of these calls, some that had cork for wedges and others that had wood or plastic for wedges. Now, the wood and the plastic are going to last a lot longer. Your cork will dry out and change dramatically the sound of your call. So your corks, they need to be taken out and replaced. I generally do mine about once every couple of years. I'll replace the corks. They're not very hard to do. By replacing those corks, especially if you have cork as your wedge, if you don't replace them, you're going to lose that crispness of the call itself. So you want to maintain that crispiness, so to speak. So when you do that, you need to change your corks out on a regular basis. Your barrel thicknesses also comes into play as well. The thicker the barrel, the more sound it can absorb, the more mellow it sounds, the more richer it sounds. While a call with a thinner barrel is going to have more of a higher pitched sound to it. Other factors come into play as well. Whether you have a single reed duck call like these, and generally all of my calls here are single reed. Other factors to consider are your reeds. Most of your Arkansas style duck calls are single reed. There are some double reed. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few. And there's also a triple reed. This one right here, this one is made by Duck Commander, and this has a triple reed. If I could break it apart, it also has a triple reed. I don't know if you can see that, but there's three separate reeds right there, and the amount of reeds can also come into play, especially with a person's air. And I'll get into that in just a minute, but a single reed is definitely harder to blow than a double reed. A double reed is easier to blow. It's a little bit more forgiving. And even your triple reed is even more forgiving. I bought this triple reed and I thought I was going to like it. But it doesn't fit my air, and I have too much hair, so it doesn't sound right for me. To other people, it sounds perfect, but for me, it just doesn't sound that. I just blow too much air into the call, and it just doesn't sound right. Now, you have calls that are made out of generally 4 types of material. You have a wood call, you have a polycarbonate call, you have an acrylic call, and you'd also have the cane calls, as I've shown you over here with the Louisiana cane call. Now, these types of materials can also affect the way your call sounds. Your wooden calls and they can absorb moisture. They can it can make them sound. The sound just doesn't come out right. It has a little bit of an issue with it. I personally like wooden calls, but I take care of them and I keep them in my pockets when I'm not actually hunting, so I try to keep from absorbing a lot of moisture. Your polycarbonate calls sound a little bit more crisper, but your high-end acrylic calls, now they're non-porous, so they're not going to absorb any moisture, and they have a really, really good, sharp sound to them. If you're a new hunter or even an experienced hunter and you're looking for a new call, I'm going to give you my suggestions on purchasing a new call. If you're a new hunter, I would, and you're thinking you're going to go buy one off the shelf. Several years ago, we were able to go into a hunting sporting goods store and pick a call off the shelf and blow into it to see how it sounds. Well, we can't do that anymore. A lot of states are forbidding it. For a number of reasons, but I wouldn't spend a lot of money on your first call. I would find, I wouldn't say the cheapest call you can find, but maybe a middle of the road type of call. Now, again, these are just my suggestions, and I suggest getting a Duck Commander call. They are mass produced, they are put together by hand with all the 5 components. And they sound really, really well. And they're not that expensive. You never know, you may not enjoy duck hunting. You may want to give it up and you've just sunk a bunch of money into a call that you'll never use again. So if you're a new hunter, I suggest going and getting a cheaper call. However, for you new hunters and your more experienced hunters, if you're looking to get a new call, I would see if you have a custom call maker in your area, get with them. Go to their shop. Let them hear you call, because not every call is fit for you. You can buy one off the shelf. For example, this triple threat, I bought it off the shelf. Took it home. I have too much air. So, and that is the amount of air that you bring up from your diaphragm and produce. I just have way too much air. And this call doesn't work for me. So I just take it and put it up on my shelf. And you could go through a whole bunch of calls that way. Or, again, like I was saying, go to a custom call maker, utilize one of his calls, and let him custom fit that call to you. As I was saying before about air, and having a call fit you, and your air fits the call. I consider him a very famous duck hunter, John Godwin of Duck Commander, and some of y'all may have seen him on Duck Dynasty. He's even said it before. He has picked up calls even that they make that doesn't fit his air. And he had to go in there, pick a call, and actually tune that call to his air. And that's what I'm saying about going to a custom call maker. If you're going to buy one from them, they're all good. All the custom call makers that I've seen have got really good duck calls. But the best ones will let you test their calls and tune that call to you. Well guys, I really hope you like this tutorial on the anatomy of a duck call. If you like these kind of videos, do me a favor, leave a comment down below. I'll be doing some more on different calls and the mallard call. Leave me a comment down below, hit that big thumbs up, and as always, we will see y'all next time on Daddy Duck 365.